Welcome back to Misadventures Recap, and unfortunately, it's a slow week for uploads. I'm not sure if everyone is focusing on big builds coming up, or if they're enjoying the lovely weather outside. I just can't put my finger on it. But speaking of not being able to put my finger on it, here's Sausage pressing a button on his soundboard, but definitely not the one he planned on.
He's so cute. He's so cute.
Oh.
Wait, I haven't killed him that many times.
Is that what he sounds like?
I pushed the wrong button. I pushed the wrong button.
In a world full of uncertainty, we learn to rely on things we know that will happen, such as Jimmy struggling with statistics.
If there was 10 M&Ms, I wouldn't do it. But there's 100.
But Jimmy, if you're eating 10 out of 100, that's the same
yeah,
odds out of being 1 out of 10.
What if when I eat one, I can shake the bowl again and then eat another one? So it resets my mind. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It resets your mind. It doesn't reset the poison.
And I'm not sure what's happening with the resource world currently, but it's definitely not as safe as it used to be, as Shubble perfectly demonstrates.
And I've got my gold shoes, so we're ready to go. What's happening? You call that a safe location?
So without further ado, let's get into this week's recap. But before we do, make sure you subscribe right now to stay up to date on everything Minecraft Misadventures. Let's recap.
Sausage says goodbye to the Riverwood Hamlet and announces his new dungeon project, but not before collecting his winnings from JoJo's speedrunning competition. He shows where the new dungeon will be located, and before he can begin his journey, gets distracted by 2 of his fellow guild members, who don't seem to be a fan of the new Assassin's Guild call.
So can you do the call? Is there a call?
Oh yeah, I got
Don't
it.
pull out that horn.
Yeah, give me a
No.
Oh my god.
I said don't do it.
Oh, that's awful.
Sausage finally sets off on his journey to his new dungeon plot, a giant mountain for his dwarven keep. After terraforming a giant chunk out of the side of the mountain, we're introduced to Greg, a rare overworld mob spawn that is now a friend and guard of the dwarven keep. He shows off the 9 shulker boxes worth of materials and cuts to a time-lapse of this week's build. A few cinematic shots later and the main dungeon entrance is complete. The scale of this build is incredible, and he promises he's not compensating for anything. And of course, in typical Sausage fashion, a new area means a new themed skin from Maskey and some concept art by Belmazi. He quickly tours the interior and explains his plans for the rest of the dungeon build, which I'm extremely excited to see come to life.
Scott shows us the beginning of the Rustler's Reach farmland expansion and explains the plans for the rest of the surrounding area. He shows off some of the custom trees he's began adding, as well as the magic of the Light Matica mod. He then cuts to a time-lapse of his new barn and tours the build featuring an additional grain silo and functional well. Another time-lapse later and we have some player housing that other misadventurers will be able to purchase, similar to Merryport and Orchidea. He announces the area will no longer be Rustler's Reach but instead Soulspire, inspired by the Spire Tower that was the first build in the area. And as a surprise treat for you all, we have 2 Scott episodes in one recap. Isn't that nice? In his second episode, he sees he has mail and finds that 20,300 gold he won through JoJo's speedrun challenge had arrived. He ran through these dungeons during his live stream on Twitch, but recaps the current records at the guild headquarters. With some more categories to complete, he makes a quick outfit change, joining Avid in the Booty Short Club. He matches Cam's time of 39 seconds in the Merryport sewers any percent, then heads to the Lost Crypt where he sets an any percent PB of 48 seconds, as well as a 100% chest PB of 189 seconds, and a boss defeated PB of 101 seconds.
Shelby crunches the numbers for her new Ferris wheel build and begins her grind for the 80 blocks of gold, not yet realizing she can farm gold from the Lost Crypt sacrifice room, but does remember later. She teases the plans for her dungeon build project for after the circus is complete, set in a haunted mansion with the potential gargoyle mount as a rare loot drop, but also asks for more haunted house themed suggestions in the comments. She finds a new friend in the caves before returning home to officially introduce all her now named mounts. We have Popcorn the goat, Animal Cracker the sheep, Mr. Bobinski the rat, Bullseye the horse, of course Wishbone the skeleton wolf, and last but not least, Magic the rabbit, who I really hope gets to be freed from their cage one day. Shelby finally remembers the Lost Crypt as an easy source of gold, and then continues the resource grind for Shroomlight and Quartz in the Nether. She meets with Sausage, who offered to help, and Jimmy, who wasn't as charitable.
If you ever end up
yeah,
with
I
too
get
much
it.
wool, I'm taking donations.
I just threw about 5 stacks into a lake.
Wow.
One time lapse later and the Ferris wheel is complete. She plans to add some more detailing later, but tours the mostly complete build, which looks even better at nighttime.
Ren is pleased to announce that despite Molly's order for his head, nobody has come to take it. He feels it's safe enough to continue work on his Dung Manor dungeon, where he finds his long-lost rat, Cornelius Fortesque III. Eloise swings by to ask some hard-hitting questions about poisonous M&Ms, which is where we find out Ren wouldn't risk his life for £100,000, but would risk his life for a Magic the Gathering card. Don't worry, Ren, I'd do the same. After being assaulted by Cam, Jimmy recruits the help of both Ren and Eloise to help get his revenge, where things slightly backfire and Cam becomes the first player to claim Ren's head. Ren takes a break from dungeon building to check his mail and becomes an instant fan of the Misinformer, but not so much of Tanisha's jokebook.
Where does Molly go to shear her sheep? The Bar Shop. Preview joke brought to you by Tan. Joke subscriptions available soon. I think I'll pass on that one.
For Ren's bravery when attacking Cam earlier despite having no armor, Sausage rewards him with an invite to the Assassin's Guild. They take a tour of the Riverwood hamlet, finishing in the Withered Hand meeting room, where Ren accepts the invitation and joins the guild as Renvi. After a ceremonial sacrifice, Eloise overhears their shenanigans and is baited into hearing their sales pitch of the guild. With only Sloth remaining, Eloise joins as the final member, Sloth for Eloise. Ren wraps up with a recap of the progress made on the dungeon, with all 3 chambers being dug out and just need decorating before being handed over to Lizzie for RPGification. That's it for this week's Misadventures recap. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like and subscribe, but most importantly, let us know down below what your favourite moments have been. We'll see you in the next recap.